So after a long wait of getting great games like Jelly Belly added to the Nintendo Switch Online service, that's a joke, obviously, we finally are graced with SEGA Genesis games and Nintendo 64 games coming to the Nintendo Switch Online for a whopping add-on price, bringing the entire price to around $50. Now, there's definitely been some pushback by fans on this because $50 for this service can seem like quite a lot. We are getting an Animal Crossing update, but to say the least, it just feels like, compared to Sony and Microsoft, who give you AAA games every month, Nintendo will give us sort of NES or Super Nintendo games once every so often. Really, there is no sort of defined timeline in which they will give us games. Now, I will say, I think when the service first came out and we were getting NES games pretty regularly, and there were certainly sort of good games, it felt pretty cool. This could be cool. This could be something that a lot of people could get into. And then we got the Super Nintendo games and we were wondering, hey, when are we going to get the big hits like Donkey Kong? And for whatever reason, they were sort of delayed, but we would get games like Psycho Dream or the Japanese version of Tetris Attack. So then the system just sort of fell off. It seemed like Nintendo just wouldn't give us an update, and when they did, gosh, the games were just so sort of random. But here we are, and we're getting an update. Now, I will say $50 a year, which is the price they're asking for now for sort of the whole package to add in SEGA Genesis games and Nintendo 64 games, is just kind of odd, to say the least. There's really no easy way to kind of look at it without sort of saying that this is kind of lame, to be entirely honest. I don't really know any other way of saying it without really trying to sound too negative. I actually try to be as positive as possible when talking about things, but the $50 price tag for the service that we're provided, especially when compared to that of Sony and Microsoft, it just seems too expensive, to say the least, especially considering that Nintendo Switch Online doesn't even have voice chat. So if you want to play Splatoon or Mario Kart, you have to use Discord or whatever manner you can find. So to make things sort of worse, now that we have N64 and SEGA Genesis games, there's a lot of people posting comparisons between the N64 emulation that is being used of the original Nintendo 64, the Wii Virtual Console, then the Wii U obviously had a Virtual Console as well, and its version is even more different. And then the version we have on the Switch, which is sort of odd, to say the least. The emulation for the Nintendo 64 games on the Switch almost feels like sort of a step back. I'm going to be showing you a few pictures here, just comparing what we have on the Nintendo 64, and this has been floating around on Twitter, so a lot of people were talking about this today. So here we have the Nintendo 64 version, and things look, just about what they looked like back in the day. But look at the water specifically. Now, as we progress to here with the Wii, everything actually feels like it stepped up a little bit. Obviously, the resolutions, the textures are a little bit higher compared to that of the Nintendo 64, and the water looks that much a little more crisper and cleaner. And then we come over here to the Switch, and it's like, what happened? To say the least, it just looks worse, to be entirely honest. One of the things also that it seems like has gone away in sort of the emulation that we're seeing across the board on the Nintendo 64 games is the atmospheric fog that the Nintendo 64 was pretty well known for. The fog actually, in some ways, because of the power of the Nintendo 64 and PlayStation and even Saturn at the time, doing games in 3D, you'd almost use the fog to help with the draw distance, since it wasn't as far as we obviously have in games today. So to have it almost completely removed, like we see here in Ocarina of Time, it just makes it sort of look bad, to say the least. Now, I will also say the controls are kind of hit and miss as well. If you've ever used emulation to play Nintendo 64 games, you're typically going to use like an Xbox 360 controller or whatever, but you can map those to, what you want. And we'll say, just jumping right in, even something like Star Fox, when they're telling you need to use the C stick in this direction in order to do a backflip, it's like, wait, what do I have to do again? And it was just sort of jarring at first, but I think that's something that can be easily easily be overcome. So the Nintendo 64 versions of these are kind of this weird mixed bag. We'll see if they get better or if they get updated at all. But I would say right now, I don't know that it's something that I can really sort of recommend, especially given the price point that we're going to be having on these games. Now, on the SEGA Genesis, this is where things get a little more interesting. I think that actually the game library we got for the Switch upgrade is pretty decent actually for what it is. Now, the issue with the SEGA games, and they play flawlessly, they play just like every SEGA game that you could possibly imagine. The issue comes with the fact that for, honest to God, on Amazon most times you can find for $15 the SEGA Genesis collection, which has around 50 games, and just about, I think, 99% of the games that you're getting in the SEGA Genesis online version are in there. And you can do things like change custom borders, and there's just a lot more games. So at the end of the day, the Switch Online service, this upgrade, I just don't know that I can honestly recommend it, to say the least, at least until we get some more games, or perhaps it gets, the emulation itself gets a little bit better. It's just not something, unfortunately, that I can recommend. But I don't know, guys, this is a little bit different of a video. Just wanted to hop on here and just sort of give you some thoughts now that it's been out. I mean, again, the games that we got they're great games. They're classic games. Ocarina of Time is still, listed in Metacritic as the best game ever made. But I just want to know, what do you guys think? Have you picked up the expansion pass? Are you planning on it? Are you waiting for more games? Or do you think you're just going to avoid it altogether? So thank you guys for watching. Leave me a comment down below and let me know what you guys think. And I will see you next time.
If you like this episode, be sure to hit that subscribe button or check out our podcast on iTunes or come hang out on Twitch. We'll see you next time. And as always, thanks for watching.